Get a recording going again. There we go. All right. So things that you need in order to run a successful business, be it online or brick and mortar. These days, I suggest to everyone you need to have a little bit of both. Why? Because we all went through the Rona together. So after COVID, if you run a brick and mortar that requires people to show up to your space, and your entire business model is built on it, and then people cannot show up to your space, that is a problem. So now I tell everyone to have some component of the business that exists fully functioning online that generates revenue, in addition to having a physical space for you to go to if you choose to have a physical space. One can exist without the other cannot exist without the one. So the physical space cannot be the only thing that you do, because if anything wild happens in this world, you need to have a backup plan. The internet can exist alone without the physical space. Okay. One has cheaper overhead. Working online has way cheaper costs than it does the brick and mortar. Brick and mortar. One does not include a landlord. So keep that in mind. All right. Unless you decide to buy your physical space, which is it's on the table if that's something that you want to do. But one comes with big time bills typically. The other one is easier startup costs and they're easier long term cost to manage. Once you've made that decision, either one or the other or both, as I said, both should be the way to go. You want to have a signature program that you're going to offer. Can anybody tell me what our signature program is? Y'all know what it is by now. What is the primary function that we serve over here? Does anyone know? You want to take a guess? Some of y'all are in the program currently. The primary signature thing that we offer,
The classes, the
it's
300,
yoga teacher
200
training.
yoga
Yep,
teacher
it is
training.
specifically yoga teacher training. That is the signature thing that we do. Yes, I teach regular asana class, but you can get that anywhere. The signature thing that I do is teach yoga teacher training in the liberated space, and our function is to buck the system surrounding white supremacy. That's what we do. That's my job. And I do it with yoga teacher training. And the reason that that signature program is what leads us is the cost point is higher. So we actually turn a profit without having a signature program that has a higher price point than a typical yoga class, than a typical wellness class, than a one-off office visit. It is very hard to maintain your bills and or make a living when your costs are higher and your profit margins are insanely tight. So let's make that math for a minute. In the beginning, now prices are lower, but it's also on a tiered system because you guys know that changed for us too. So we'll talk on kind of both ends of this. In the beginning, when we first pushed teacher training out online because the Rona was going on and I had to move it out of the studio. When it's in the studio, it's $1,500 to do yoga teacher training. Why? Because my costs are higher, so my customers' costs have to be higher. Because remember, I told you in the physical space, at minimum, my rent is anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 a month. Okay. Can you also hear me? Because my internet is going in and out. You still got me? Okay. Um, so when we're brick and mortar, when I'm teaching just in studio, it's fifteen
Kind of
hundred
choppy.
dollars for. It's kind of choppy. Okay, I'm gonna pop my video off because I've kind of you can see what's on the slide. Let me see if I can turn my video off to. Give me a thumbs up if you can still see my screen though. Yes. Okay. Cool. So when I teach brick and mortar, $1,500 for 200 hour. It is 2,200 for 3 and 5,500 for 500 hour. Why? Because my costs are higher. Okay. So when I teach it online, when I dropped it during COVID, when I knew we weren't going to be in the physical space for Lord only knew how long, It was $250 for 200 hours, and 200 hours was the only thing we offered. Because my costs were lower, we can then play the volume game. But you notice what price point I didn't give you? I didn't tell you $45. Why is that? Because I have to teach so many people in order for $45 to sustain a business, to create enough cash flow for me to actually pull a profit from. Does that make sense to everybody? So your signature program, I'm gonna stop this screen share too and see if I can turn my camera back on without it cutting out. So your signature program has to be your larger get. Okay? It has to be your higher price point. That doesn't mean it has to be $1,000 because you notice I said 250, but your signature program, it needs to be the more expensive thing that you do. And in the beginning, what you typically have is time and no money unless you're independently wealthy. If you are independently wealthy, we're probably not on this call in the first place and you're having a very different conversation with someone other than me. In the beginning, you have time and very limited money. So the first thing that you have to do, the biggest responsibility for you as a business owner, if you plan on staying in business beyond the next 30, 60, 90, 120 days, is to make some money. And in order to do that, if your pockets are lean, you need a larger price point in the beginning. And again, you can do it for under $1,000 and still be profitable if you have an effective marketing arm. All right? Because you got to get people to come through your door. Your price is irrelevant if nobody buys it. It could be $10,000. If nobody's going to pay you 10 grand, who gives a squat what the price is? Okay? So signature program in the beginning is going to be your higher price point item. Now, this needs to be a price point that is reasonable for the audience that you have acquired. At that point for me, I knew I wanted to shake the yoga table in terms of teacher training, and I knew I could shake the shit out of it at $250, and that's what I did. It was just cheap enough to be an impulse buy, but it wasn't too pricey. It wasn't too cheap to where it seemed like it devalued the product. Because at that point, I was still relatively new-ish to existing online to this degree in this space. With teacher training. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So your signature program can be anything. If you are an expert basket weaver and you've been basket weaving for the past 50 years and now you want to take your expertise and teach this artisanal skill to people who really want to dig into basket weaving, that needs to be your signature program, and it needs to have your highest price point, and you need to sell that and only that until you get exceptionally good at it. And when I say exceptionally good at it, I mean at least spend the first 1 to 2 years selling that and only that. In the beginning, we have a tendency to chase shiny things and want to sell all the things all at once. I'm telling you this because I've been there and done that. Ask me like I know. And there's so much going on in a business in the beginning that if you don't focus on getting really good at selling that one thing, you end up becoming a master of nothing. Because you don't know what your numbers are in the beginning. You haven't done it enough to know what your numbers are, to have actual feedback to tell you what works and what doesn't work. So this is why I say sell that one product, get really good at that one product, then you can go make a whole bunch of other stuff if you want to. Just don't get distracted by the shiny thing. I'll give you an example to kind of concrete for you. Whenever somebody tips in my inbox and is like, you should sell supplements, okay? My wholehearted answer is always, no, I should not. My audience doesn't want that. My audience isn't a gym audience. It's a yoga audience. They're not interested in it. It doesn't matter how I benefit from them. It doesn't matter if they would benefit from them. They have shown me time and time again that they're not interested in it. But you can make all this money. I cannot if they don't buy it. But me diverting my attention away from teacher training and towards supplements or whatever else, the thing that happens to be in my inbox in that moment, it keeps me for my core product. And now if I'm having a conversation with you about supplements, I'm no longer having a conversation with you about teacher training. So my teacher training sales are going down, and I'm trying to drag you into buying something that you don't really want in the first place Meanwhile, my primary thing, the primary driver that makes me money is taking a hit because I'm chasing this bright and shiny thing over here because somebody else told me that that was the important, it's the new wave and it's the new thing. So, the signature program, get really good at it, let it be your highest price point, have a marketing arm of this, a marketing mechanism that's going to get the word out for you, typically at a low price point. That's where your advertising comes in, and sell the hell of it until you're really good at it, until you can do it in your sleep. Okay. Now, fast forward almost, let's see, at least 6 years of selling teacher training this way now that we're going on to the 2025. So we're at least 5 years post COVID going into six. Um, Now I can reduce the cost of teacher training because I've made my money. I don't have to hang at $250 before the self-paced portion of it. We can have tiered pricing where step two is the $250 option, but there's a step one that hangs at 45, which almost guarantees that I make money on a daily basis with very low impact to me because all I'm offering at this point is email support. And then option two at 250 is the one where you get a little some more support. And then I added an option three, which is like, I think it's upwards at the highest end, $1,500, which is still cheaper than most places, where you get a mentorship and all this other stuff. But again, that took me 5 years of selling this $250 product to know my numbers and to know what works for people to where I can kind of adjust the price up and down, where I have some leeway to pour it back into the community and make it inexpensive, where I can pull on other financial mechanisms, i.e., building building I'll phrase it this way, building a passive revenue stream to offset the cost of me creating this self-paced teacher training option, which we'll go over that in just a moment. But you need a signature program to begin with, to get good at it, to know those numbers, to know if you can work in that way. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So once you have your signature program, I'm not going to screen share. I'm going to read this so that way I don't have lag. So once you have your signature program, then you can kind of talk about your dream client. Dream client is relative because the reality is your dream client is the person who is going to pay you. Let's keep it above. Because we can dream all day long, wish in one hand and you know what in the other. But if that person isn't the person who is going to feed your business, they're not necessarily your dream client. Okay. Dream is relative and dream can become a nightmare really quickly. So it is your ideal client. Who would you like to sell this thing to? And typically it is just a reflection of you as an individual. That is the easiest thing to go for. Don't yeah, and pay you repeatedly. Exactly. Um, don't go after a client that is in the abstract for you that you have to kind of make up this avatar for. For instance, if you're like, I want to market to doctors, but you're not a doctor, that doesn't make sense to me. Why make it hard for yourself? I'm going to market to teachers, but you don't teach. Why make it hard for yourself? I want to market to Black women that are 22 to 55 years old that have limited patience from nonsense, that may be a little ratchet here and there, that want to feel good in their bodies and experience health and wellness on their terms. That's who I talk to because that's who I am. So I implore you to do the same thing. And then what happens is I like to refer to this as the Beyonce effect. Then you're building an audience that can grow with you. So think of Beyonce in the beginning to where she is now. She's a year older than I am, but we've all grown up with her. So where she is in life and the things that she's talking about musically makes sense for where we are in life. So if you're a 50-year-old man, talk the talk of 50-year-old men. Don't try and talk to 25-year-olds. You're past that phase in life, and it's going to be hard to keep up with them because you've lived past that stage. Does that make sense to everybody? And most of us don't want it back. Like, I told somebody today that I'm very grateful I'm no longer 30. Like, I feel that with my entire soul. Like, I'm very happy to be at 43.
I
So
got
it
called an
doesn't.
old head the other day. I was like, what the fuck?
Like, stop.
I was at a wedding, and my sister and my cousin had gotten married, and the DJ was like, "Oh, look at the aunties on the floor," and I'm like, "Boy, I'm probably a whole 5 minutes older than you are. What are you talking about?" Anyway, but I get it. I get that feeling. But in the same turn, I am grateful to be in auntie and uncle vibe land with my 2-year-old niece. Because boy, look here, I'm not built for toddlers any longer, friends. I'm too old for that mess. No, thank you. But anywho, yeah. So embracing where you are in your life, uh, and infusing that in your business, and also it creates this instant kind of authenticity because you're talking about things that are within your lived experience, and that makes it a whole lot easier for you to connect with people. And as much as social media, I will say for myself that people want to be entertained, I do feel like there is I'll say it this way. For us regular folks, there is still space for being your authentic self and showing up as you are and finding your tribe. I do think there is still space for that. Even though it is real noisy and there's a bunch of mess going on, but let's be honest, people are messy and there's always going to be some sort of mess going on. All right. So then from there, what transformation do you offer? What are you offering them? In my case, it's I'm offering them a path to liberation through themselves. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just here to facilitate the experience. This is about you getting to know you in a way that feels good to you. And then how do you or I want them to feel from working with you? I want you to feel empowered and liberated. Now, that empowerment piece has always been my bend, even as a regular, not a regular, even if I'm teaching a typical asana class, I want you to walk away feeling like, hell yeah, I did that thing. My music reflects that. The way I dress for class reflects that. The words that I use reflect that. I'm curating this whole brand idea and identity, even when I'm on the mat teaching. And it obviously, especially in teacher training, and then in business, it's definitely that same thing because this is too expensive for me to throw fluff at you. Pick your passion. No, 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 no. Slow down. let's let's pick what is actually going to keep your lights on for you, and how do we mold that into something that you are passionate about. um okay, let's keep on keeping on. We're almost to the end of our slides, so we are at the end of the slides. Cool. So what's next? What questions do you have? First and foremost, let me ask that, if any. Do you have any questions? How much of this work have you done already? I will pose that question to you.
So I feel like in general, this business would be most ideal for me, but I've been trying to learn like multi-level marketing styles and stuff like that. So I've been like trying to, and I've joined like other multi-level marketing businesses, but I keep coming back to this as like I want this as my driving force. I just am having a hard time. So one of the things that I struggle with is finding oh, can you see me?
No, I can't see you. We lost the video.
Oh, wow. Um,
I can hear you though.
okay. Yeah, that's so weird. So
Oh, there you go.
I did okay, two things. One, I did one online, my first like yoga inspired because I